Hey guys, my name is Rachel and welcome back to my channel. So before we get into today's video, I just wanted to go ahead and give a quick shout out to one of my channel sponsors, NordPass. I really went into detail about everything that NordPass is all about in my Oliver Munson video, but if you did not see that video, NordPass is a great way to store all of your data in a single secure place and just makes your life so much easier and so much more secure. I have actually been using it for a couple of weeks now, and I have to say I was a little bit skeptical at first since it's something that I didn't think that I needed, but once I started using it, I haven't needed to worry about my passwords. I have been able to access all of my shopping information so much easier and quicker. And my favorite feature, the autofill feature, is so nice. So if that is something that you are interested in, go ahead and head over to nordpass.com/Rachel or use code Rachel. All of my affiliate links are listed down below. You can get 40% off of NordPass plus an extra month free. Okay, so with that being said, let's just talk about today's case. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing a solved case that was suggested to me a few weeks ago. Now, when this case was first suggested to me, I didn't actually realize just how ridiculous this situation was until I got pretty deep into my research. I physically could not believe what these awful and disgusting people did to this beautiful young woman for absolutely no reason at all. So, with that being said, let's just get right into today's case. Today, we are going to be discussing the case of Sarah Stern. Sarah Stern was only 19 years old when she was killed on December 2nd, 2016. She was from Neptune City, New Jersey, and she was the only child of her parents, Michael Stern, and her mother, whose name I didn't see mentioned, but had actually passed away from cancer just a few years before Sarah died. Sarah was described as being smart, artistic, loving, and kind. Her friends said that Sarah would always encourage them to be unapologetically yourself and recklessly optimistic. She absolutely loved drawing and painting and was really good at it too. These are some of her drawings that embody her skill for being an artist. One of Sarah's friends recounted that every single year they would count down to July 11th because she always loved getting the free Slurpees at 7-Eleven. Her teacher said she was always pulling these little pranks in class and had such potential as an artist. She had always just had this very upbeat personality and was always able to lift up her friends and those around her. Now, in high school, Sarah was really close friends with two guys named Preston Taylor and Liam McAstney. In fact, they were all such good friends that if you saw one of them walking down the hallway, you saw the other two. They ate lunch together. They would put their stuff in each other's lockers and knew each other's locker combinations and knew each other's class schedules. Preston and Sarah even went to their senior prom together, and Liam and Preston had been roommates for some time. Now, there was no romantic relationship between any of them. Preston and her just went to prom as friends, and as far as I have seen, there wasn't any sort of jealousy going around or unreciprocated feelings or anything like that. Now, like I mentioned earlier, Sarah's mother unfortunately died of cancer 4 years before Sarah died. Well, her mother had actually left behind a shoebox filled with about $25,000 for Sarah, which had actually been stashed in their second home in Avon by the Sea in New Jersey. But her father, Michael, did not actually know about this money that her mother had left behind. When Sarah initially got this money, she had used it to take a few trips to Florida and to Canada and had paid for her dog to get surgery and then bought a new TV for her grandmother. However, her aunt convinced her to put $5,200 into her checking account and then stash the rest of the cash in a safe deposit box in Bradley Beach. Of course, Sarah had told her two closest friends in the whole world about this money that she had gotten. At first, after she told them, they seemed like very supportive friends. Sarah had always had this dream of moving to Canada and pursuing an art career there. And she actually did have plans set in to go through with it. Her family knew about her plans, and so did all of her friends. At the time, though, it was put on hold because of her grandmother, who was 96 years old at the time, and there was just sort of a lot going on with her family. But soon, Preston and Liam decided that they wanted to get their hands on this money. They had hashed this whole plan together that they were going to rob Sarah's house and take all of her money. They had gone over to her house one night with a pack of Mike's Hard Lemonade and tried to get her drunk enough so that they could just take her money. But it was at this point that she told them that most of the money was actually in that safe deposit box, so there was no way that they could have gotten their hands on the money at that time. I guess that the friends had just thought that it was somewhere in her house and that they would be able to just take it without her knowing. After this, they came up with their official plan of how they were going to get their hands on that money. Now, let's fast forward to early December in 2016. At the time, Michael, Sarah's father, was in Florida at Disney World. The two had been texting back and forth while he was there, him sending her photos of everything that he was doing and seeing, and her responding with how beautiful it all was. However, after a while, Sarah had just stopped replying to all of his messages. Of course, he was pretty worried, but he didn't really have any reason to panic until his mother, or Sarah's grandmother, called him on December 2nd saying that she hadn't seen Sarah in a while, and Sarah was not returning any of her phone calls. This was very unlike Sarah to just not reply to either of them and for her just to not be home in a very long time, so he started frantically texting her, hoping to get a response. Here are the text messages that he sent to Sarah. Sarah, where are you? Sarah, are you up? Sarah, what's going on? Grandma's trying to get in touch with you. Why is your phone off? Call me when you get this message. Call me as soon as you get this message. But even after sending all of these text messages, he got no response. He was completely worried at this point, but that worry grew to a complete panic when in the early morning hours of December 3rd, Sarah's car was found, but she wasn't. Just after midnight, an Uber driver was actually driving down a bridge over Shark River between Neptune and Belmar, New Jersey, when he noticed the 1994 Oldsmobile 88 parked on the side of the road. This driver immediately thought that this car looked very out of place, so he immediately reported it to police. When police arrived, they found no sign of a break-in, no sign of foul play anywhere on or around the car, and the keys of the car were still in the ignition. They looked around for the driver of this abandoned car, but couldn't find anyone. At this point, they had identified the car as belonging to Sarah's grandmother and found out that no one had heard from Sarah since the day before. So police thought that she must have just jumped off this bridge and ended her own life. It was the only plausible explanation. Police immediately started their search of the river. They used Coast Guard helicopters and rescue dive teams to search this river extensively. However, they weren't able to find a single thing. This river does have a very intense current that connects out to the Atlantic Ocean, so it wouldn't be hard for a body that ended up in that river to just be swept away. At this point, police decided to go ahead and speak to some of Sarah's closest friends to see what could have been going on in her life, and Liam basically confirmed that she did probably take her own life. He said, quote, "I just know that she's been trying to get away, been telling me that she's moving to Canada." He also told police that she had just recently dropped out of community college. She had threatened to take her own life before, and that she really didn't get along with her father, that her father was crazy and always stealing her money. He said that Sarah had continuously spoken about trying to get away for just a few months. He said that Sarah had been talking continuously about just wanting to get away for a few months. They told police about how Sarah's mother had just passed away a few years prior and that she did have a history of attempts in the past. She basically had every reason to just want to end things, according to Liam. However, what Liam was telling police contradicted to what I had mentioned earlier. She had told her family members about wanting to move to Canada, but had told them that she was going to put this plan on hold for quite a while because of her grandmother. Her and her dad did not have this crazy, strained relationship that Liam was describing. They were actually very close. She would always post on Instagram about the thoughtful gifts that her father would get her for her birthday. And the two of them were always texting back and forth when they weren't together. And one of the very last texts that she sent him the day before she went missing was, "I love you." Now, police had actually found out that Liam and Sarah had been together the day that she went missing, so they returned to speak to Liam again. At this point, Liam recounted his side of what happened that day. Liam told detectives that he had called Sarah that afternoon to ask if she wanted to get something to eat, and then the two went in Sarah's car to the Taco Bell in Neptune. He said that they later went to a neighbor's house across the street to drop off a bin of items that Sarah had been cleaning out of her house before then returning to her house. Liam then said that he left to go to work at Brennan's Steakhouse in Neptune City. After this, he says he has no idea what happened to Sarah. In the days and weeks after Sarah's disappearance, the searches continued. No one had any idea of where she could have gone. Preston and Liam joined in with the search efforts along with her family and other friends as they combed the entire Jersey Shore searching for any sign of Sarah. Liam and Preston put up flyers they posted all over social media about their missing friend. They seemed to do everything that they could to get her name and her story out there, but they found nothing. No one could figure out what happened to Sarah, and investigators started to lose hope, and the investigation started slowing down until people started coming forward with information that shocked everyone involved. In January of 2017, a friend of Liam and Preston's, Anthony Curry, came forward to police telling them that Liam McAstany was the one responsible for taking Sarah's life. Now, I want to mention that this friend Anthony and Liam did have a very close friendship. The two met in high school and became very close, bonding over music, movies, and TV shows. Anthony basically lived at Liam's house. Anthony is a filmmaker, and Liam would always tell him his ideas for different films that he thought Anthony should make. Now, according to Anthony, the Thanksgiving before Sarah went missing, so only a few weeks before all of this happened, Liam had told Anthony about his plan to kill this girl and throw her over a bridge. Now, Anthony thought that this was pretty weird, but Liam was always giving him these crazy ideas for different movies, so he didn't think much of it. So at first, when Anthony found out about Sarah's car being left at the bridge, he didn't really make the connection and didn't think that Liam had anything to do with it. I mean, the two were really close friends, and he didn't think that Liam was capable of any of that, just like most people wouldn't think that their friends are capable of something like that. It was only until Liam started reaching out to Anthony on Snapchat, where he knew that his messages would disappear, asking him if police had spoken to him, that he made the connection and realized that Liam had basically spelled out what he was going to do weeks before he actually went through with it. So after this, police set Anthony up with a way to try and record Liam admitting to what he did. And let me tell you, this worked like a charm. Liam had literally admitted to everything. He told Anthony that he knew about all of this money that she had, that Sarah basically told him that there was somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 in that box, and that he had been planning for 6 months to try and find a way to steal the money. The night that Sarah went missing, he got together with Sarah and hung out just like he said. At some point, he convinced Sarah to stop at the bank and take that money out, and there were witnesses confirming that they were at the bank. He basically got her to take the money out by saying that they should take all the money out and run off to Canada or California together to start their new lives. After taking all of this money out, they arrived back at Sarah's house. It was at this point, at around 4:30 p.m., that Liam admitted that he strangled Sarah for a half hour in her home until she died. He then moved her body into some bushes in the backyard that afternoon. Later that night, him and Preston returned to her home to put her body into the car, drive to the bridge, and tossed Sarah into the Shark River. After this, they went back to Sarah's house and cracked open her safe with a screwdriver, but turns out there was a lot less money that he thought. Turns out there was only about $10,000 in that box, and even the money itself was not very useful. It was old, crusty money that was stuck together and not even useful. They made it out with only $7,000, which they buried at Sandy Hook in the safe. Here is the video of the confession of Liam basically spelling out everything that happened that night.
Alright, so I'm hanging out with her. We went to the bank, she took some money out, not all of her money. We're counting it out, and then she goes to walk out the front door. I choke her out, drag her. My biggest problem was the dog, and her dog laid there and watched as I killed her. Didn't do anything.
Nobody was there?
No, nobody was there. Even her dad wasn't there. He was in Florida.
Yeah, you said that he was there.
So, I have to leave. I fucking dropped my phone at Sarah's house. My phone was at Sarah's house. Like...
Wait, you left your phone?
Yeah, I lost it. I couldn't find it. I had to go to work. I had timed everything out so that...
Why did you take your phone? You should have left it in your fucking pocket.
Dude.
What were you doing?
Strangling someone. I choke her out, drag her into the back, put her in the bathroom, and then I had to go straight to work. So Preston came over, took the body, put it in the bushes, and then I was at work. I had a full, night of work, except I left work a couple times, which looks sketchy. To look for my phone, though, which is a reasonable, thing to do.
Yeah, you don't look for your phone, yeah.
Which is kind of, me losing my phone is kind of a good thing, because the cops are like, oh, he's hanging out with her, he lost his phone, he's going back and forth between his house looking for it. And then I get off work that night, go straight over, Preston and I go over to her house, take her safe, bring that over to my house before we do anything. And we take her body out of the bushes and drag it over to her back fence, and I crawl, get into her car, and I back up. There's a security camera across the street, so I had to act like her. I watched her every time she backed out. She does the same thing. So I backed out exactly like she did and drove off.
Put her in the trunk?
No, put her in the passenger seat of her own car. And then Preston and I had these walkie-talkies to communicate with. We just used them again. So I was driving, and I had her buckled in the passenger seat.
So she looks like she's just sleeping.
She's just sitting up. And my plan was, for me, I underestimated my own strength and how much a dead body would weigh. Because...
It's not weight?
Yeah. I got up on top of the bridge to throw her off. My plan was I was going to throw her off, run over, jump over the divider, and get into Preston's car. And I go up, open the door, unhook her, pull her out, start dragging her to throw her over, and then cars start coming up. I see, headlights coming. I try to get her over, and I can't pump my leg up. The weight from her body, made me fall, and my leg, went up. So now I'm limping, my leg's fucked up, and there's 3 cars coming up. So I grab her body. Dude, I had superhuman strength, and I threw it in the car, and I fucking picked it up, and her feet were up here, and her head was down there. and 3 cars go by. And I'm fucking losing my shit, because that easily could have been a cop.
Yeah.
And then...
I mean, the police station is like right there.
Yeah. And then Preston comes over the bridge, goes around, makes a U-turn, comes up behind me. The 2 of us throw the body over, and then we're out. This is the thing about, like, heists. There's so much shit that you can't account for.
You don't know.
Yeah. You don't know until it happens.
Liam literally did not have any sort of remorse for what he did. He was able to sit there and talk about how he killed his friend and watched her struggle and fight for her life as he strangled her, drove with her in her car, then how he struggled to throw her into the river and then was finally able to with some help. He literally did not care that he just took the life of his best friend that he had known since he was a kid. So obviously, after seeing this videotape, police immediately arrested Liam and Preston. When they took the 2 in, Preston told police pretty much everything and said the same thing that Anthony had already told them. I will mention that at this point, neither of these guys knew that police had already seen a video confession, so Preston was admitting to what they did without knowing that they already knew. Preston told police again that they had planned to rob Sarah after she had told them that she had $50,000 to $100,000, but of course, after finding out that it was stashed away in a safe deposit box, they had to come up with a different plan. He said that it was their plan to park her car on the side of the bridge and just make it look like she jumped. Liam even took 2 trial runs over the bridge in his car, and then the 2 bought walkie-talkies from Walmart to communicate with each other the entire time that this thing went down. However, the walkie-talkies that they had originally bought didn't have enough range, so they had to go back to Walmart and get 2 new ones. When Preston got a call from Liam on December 2nd saying that he was with Sarah, he knew that the plan was about to be executed. After killing Sarah, Liam casually went to work, but he asked Preston to move her body from the downstairs bathroom where he had left her. Liam told him to climb the fence in the backyard, getting into Sarah's back door because the neighbor had surveillance video. Liam also apparently lost his phone as he was killing his friend, so he politely asked Preston to go ahead and look for his phone. Preston said that he did everything Liam asked of him, and after Liam got off of work, they went to Sarah's house and then left with the backpack full of cash. Then, like I mentioned before, Liam went to go throw the body off of the bridge, but Preston was following close behind to help Liam out when Liam realized that he was not strong enough to throw her over himself. They then went back to Sarah's house to get everything together to bury the money at Sandy Hook. Now, the trial for Sarah's murder started in early 2019. Preston Taylor pleaded guilty to robbery, conspiracy to commit robbery, disturbing or desecrating human remains, tampering with physical evidence, and 2 counts of hindering apprehension. He also agreed to testify against Liam in trial. Liam pleaded not guilty and did not testify at all. In the trial, Preston basically told the jury what he had told police. He said that Liam had had this plan for months and that Preston initially didn't want anything to do with the plan, but then eventually gave in. He also showed a lot more remorse for what he had done than Liam and said that he regrets his involvement.
Did he tell you anything about killing Sarah Stern?
He said that he strangled her.
Did he go into significant detail at that point in time?
He said it took a while, but she did finally die, and that he moved her down into the back bathroom.
Did he tell you like where he killed her?
Up in the front of the house.
The front of the house?
Yeah,
Front of
where they were leaving to go out the front door, and as she was about to walk out, he grabs her from behind and strangles her.
He told you.
So fantastic.
Anthony Curry also testified against Liam, again telling the jury what he told police about how Liam had this entire plan 6 months before.
He told me he was going to meet up Sarah. She found his money, and they were going to count it together. He was going to choke her out, bring her to the bridge, throw her off. Preston was going to drive the escape vehicle, and they were going to bury the money and leave the keys and the ignition and make it look like she killed herself.
Okay. But even after both of these men testified and the video was played for the jury of Liam literally admitting to what he did, Liam's attorney made this big spectacle saying that Preston is a liar and that he's only saying what he's saying to save himself. In regards to the video, he said that Liam only said what he said because he thought that he was auditioning for a movie or throwing out ideas for a movie, since Anthony was indeed a filmmaker. But the video was not the only thing that prosecutors had against Liam. They presented a walkie-talkie that detectives recovered when Preston was arrested, and a matching one that Anthony had said Liam left behind in his car the night that the conversation was recorded. A manager from Walmart was also called in to testify that only 2 sets of walkie-talkies matching the ones that detectives found were purchased in the Neptune store between October and November of 2016, which matches exactly what Preston had told them. Phone records also show a series of phone calls placed from Sarah's landline in Sarah's house to Liam's cell phone around the time that he killed Sarah. Prosecutors basically saying that this was Liam trying to find his phone after the entire thing went down at her house. Phone records also show that Preston called Liam's phone from his own cell phone 5 times that day, which prosecutors said was Preston trying to find Liam's lost phone in the house when he was there to move Sarah's body. Phone records also showed several text messages between Anthony and Liam indicating that the two were planning to meet up on Thanksgiving Day in 2016, which corroborated Anthony's testimony that he was at Liam's house Thanksgiving Day 2016 when Liam had told him about his entire plan. Now, they were also able to get a hold of the surveillance video from the house across the street from Sarah's, the same surveillance camera that Liam had specifically told Preston to avoid, that showed Liam leaving the house, carrying out a bag that prosecutors said was filled with the stolen cash. That same surveillance camera also captured someone in the backyard of Sarah's house shortly after she is thought to be killed, which is thought to have been Preston moving her body. Later that night, this same camera showed a car's headlights going on and then leaving Sarah's house. Surveillance video from Brennan's Steakhouse that day showed Liam arriving to work through the back door 1 minute late for his shift, looking disheveled, wiping his brow with his apron. A coworker testified that he was always on time to work, never even being a minute late, and he always looked really nice and ready to go. So prosecutors argued that Liam had to rush to work that day after he had killed Sarah. But the biggest piece of evidence was the cash that caused this entire situation to happen. Preston led detectives to the money that they had buried at Sandy Hook. Detectives said that it contained $9,390 in old rusty bills printed in the 1980s. They were also able to open the safe using the key that they found on Liam's keychain, while the key to Sarah's safe deposit box was found hidden in a vent in the house where Preston and Liam lived. Now, like I said earlier, Liam had lost his phone at Sarah's house that day, and detectives were able to find it in her yard. The thing that I find so disturbing, in addition to everything else that is completely disturbing about this entire thing, is that when they found Liam's phone, they found that the stopwatch on his phone was activated at 4:15 p.m. on December 2nd. He literally timed himself as he was strangling Sarah to see how long it would take, and that's how he knew that it took him a half hour to kill her. Just think about how absolutely psychotic you have to be that collected and calm while you're executing this plan to kill your friend, that you're even in a state of mind where you just decide to go ahead and time yourself as you're strangling someone. It's just unreal to me. This entire time, Liam did not say a single thing in court. As Michael Stern was testifying, he basically laid out exactly what Liam had done to his family. In court, he said, quote, "I was devastated and numb from the shock every day I learned from the detectives that Sarah was murdered. I've had horrific dreams and nightmares. The horrid act of what happened to her body haunts me every day. I will never be able to hug Sarah again." This entire time, though, Liam would not even look up at the face of the man whose life he ruined, all because he wanted a little bit of money. Now, I do want to mention that this trial was actually almost thrown out because one of the jurors posted on Facebook, "Sitting in the jury LMAO." And of course, that is completely inappropriate to say on Facebook, and the court did throw the juror out. But Liam's defense took this as an opportunity to ask for a new trial, which thankfully he was denied. In February, Liam was found guilty of 7 charges of murder, felony murder, conspiracy to commit robbery, hindering the apprehension of himself, tampering with evidence, and disturbing or desecrating human remains. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole plus 10 years. Right away, Liam's attorney tried to fight these charges, but he was denied. Liam still says that he's innocent and had nothing to do with Sarah's murder. Preston Taylor took a plea deal of dropping any murder charges in return for testifying against Liam, but he did plead guilty of first-degree robbery, second-degree conspiracy to commit robbery, and second-degree disturbing or desecrating human remains. Prosecutors sought charges of 10 to 20 years in prison. His trial was in July of 2019, and there were some issues with his trial. He had basically lied about being sexually abused by his father to gain sympathy for what he did. He almost discredited himself as being a liar when he was the key witness who put Liam away. So, of course, Liam's lawyer tried to use this as a way to make a claim that Preston cannot be trusted. But either way, Preston Taylor was sentenced to 18 years behind bars. But of course, Preston's attorney was not happy with this charge either, and also tried to appeal, claiming that the judge applied aggravating factors, saying that there was a high likelihood of Preston offending again. Preston's lawyer said that this was unfair, especially since he was the one who testified against Liam. However, Preston had such a huge role in Sarah's murder that the judge basically said that there's no way that he couldn't conclude that Preston would reoffend again. So that's pretty much all of the information that I have on this case. I know that it was really difficult to listen to because no one wants to believe that their friend, especially one that they've known since childhood, would be willing to do something so heinous just because they came into a large sum of money. These are guys who took advantage of a girl who just wanted to get away from it all and wanted to start a new career, but instead they just selfishly cut her life short for a little bit of money. One of the quotes that I kept seeing in my research was Liam basically talking about how he could live comfortably for a few years, buy a house, and throw house parties with how much money he was gonna have. So not only did he have the totally wrong idea of how much money he was about to get, but he literally just wanted all of that money so he could throw parties. He thought that being able to have a house and throw parties was more important than his best friend's life. And that is just something that I cannot wrap my head around. I am thankful at least that he had people around him who were willing to turn their friend in. Anthony specifically. I mean, he didn't have to turn his friend in. He didn't have to sacrifice this friendship. He didn't have anything to gain whatsoever out of turning in Liam. He didn't even want any sort of praise for doing so. He literally just did it because it's right. And he had even said in interviews, like, I don't want praise for this. I don't want anything in return. I don't want money. I just did it because someone lost their life and I knew that I could help. That is someone that I have a ton of respect for. As for Preston, he took part in killing and dumping his best friend, a girl that he brought to prom, just so he could get away with something like $3,000, I think the agreement was. It might have been a little bit more than that, but it was not a lot of money. It is just insane to me what money led these men to do. It was good that he came out to police and told them what he did. Without him, admittedly, it would have been a lot harder to convict Liam. And he was an important key witness. And it was a good thing that he came out and was willing to speak against his friend. But then he turned around and had to lie about why he was involved in the first place, just to gain some sympathy from the jurors or whoever he wanted to gain sympathy from, maybe for a lighter sentence. But he could have caused the entire trial to have to be thrown out because he could have been considered a liar and not a trustful witness. I did see again that Liam's lawyer did try to get this used to say that Preston was not credible, but I don't think anything came of it, and hopefully nothing does. At the end of the day, we have two selfish young men who decided that the friend that they grew up with and spent a ton of their time with wasn't worth more than a small payout. One of which of these men won't even take responsibility for what he did, which just irks me so much more, that he won't even man up and own up to what he did. I just hope that both of these men are sitting in jail thinking about what they did and the fact that they did all of this to their best friend and came out with exactly $0 to both of their names. I just hope that it eats them alive and that the guilt eats at them every single day. As for Sarah's father, Michael, I can't even imagine what he has had to go through. He lost his wife, and then he lost his daughter, and his mother is 96 years old. And it just seems like he's losing everyone, and it's absolutely heartbreaking, and it's not something that he should have ever had to go through. No parent should outlive their child, and especially over money that he didn't even know about. I can't even imagine what was running through his head when he found out about all of this money that Sarah had, that her friends just decided was more important than her life. My heart goes out to Michael, and I hope that he is able to find some way to stay strong through all of this and continue living his life, even though the people that he loves the most have been taken from him. So that is all I have for today's video. I know, again, that this was a rough one to listen to, and it's something that really just resonates with me, and I hope that it resonates with a lot of you, and I hope that you can take a minute to be thankful for those around you and thankful for the wonderful people in your life. But either way, if you guys liked this video, please make sure to go ahead and leave this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I put out new true crime and mystery videos every single week. Make sure to go ahead and check out NordPass, which will be linked down below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Both will be linked down below. If you have absolutely any case suggestions, please make sure to email them to me at RachelShannonCases@gmail.com. With that, I hope you guys have a great week, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!